Good day, everyone. I'm Karen Righthand, Director of Sales and Marketing from SCS Global Services. And I would like to thank this morning Dhruv, Raina from Tarkett for joining us, and Dr. John McKeon of Asthma Allergy Standards for joining us. And each of us will introduce ourselves at this time. Again, I'm Karen Righthand, Director of Sales and Marketing at SCS Global Services in the Environmental Certification Services Division. And I would like to thank those flooring companies, those of you that have joined this morning to learn more about asthma and allergy friendly certification. I would like to thank you for being valued FloorScore customers. And we're here today to talk about this emerging certification. And the technical backbone of what we're going to talk about, I'd like to introduce Dr. John McKeon. And John, would you just give a short introduction, and then we'll pass it over to Dhruv to introduce himself?
Sure, Karen. Thanks very much. And again, appreciate you setting up the conference call, the webinar, and appreciate the FloorScore clients of yours attending. Hopefully we can add lots of value and give some insights from some of the cutting edge research we have. John McKeon is my name. I'm an ER physician, a doctor by training. I'm also an adjunct professor in the business school here with regards to healthcare innovation. And I'm also CEO and founder of Allergy Standards, which is an international asthma and allergy certification company where we test consumer products related to the indoor environment that are more suitable for people with asthma and allergies and other respiratory sensitivities, particularly related to emissions and aeroallergen and biologicals that can build up in the indoor environment that can contribute to people's asthma and allergy.
Great. Dhruv? You'll need to unmute yourself, I think. There you go. Dhruv?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, hi, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining. This is Dhruv, Raina. I'm the Director of Product Stewardship and Sustainability at Tarkett, and really environmental engineer by training, focus on product stewardship efforts here in North America. Before Tarkett, I was working for Owens Corning, another building products manufacturer, on product and supply chain sustainability. I was leading the team there. So happy to be here, and look forward to connecting with you all through questions and answers at the end.
Great, thank you, Dhruv. So just a little bit of groundwork. We're expecting to go probably about 35 minutes and then have about 10 minutes for questions. Dr. McKeon and I will present information about the certification program. And then Dhruv will talk about Tarkett's case study as a certified asthma and allergy friendly certified flooring manufacturer. And I think really the overarching goal for today is for each of you to understand more about what is involved in the certification. It's really quite different than what you may have experienced in the past. For you to understand what type of a flooring product would make a good candidate for asthma and allergy certification, and then at the end of the webinar, be able to kind of go back to your team and decide if this is something that you would like to move forward with, and or which products of your product line you would like to move through the process. So that's kind of like the overarching goal. This is being recorded, so we would be able to use it in the future and be able to provide it back to you if you want to re-listen to it or share with other members of your team. Okay, so first on my, and John, please just jump in. You are the expert, and I'm just here to kind of be the ringleader today. But please jump in where I need appropriate beefing up in my descriptions. The one thing I would like to say about asthma and allergy friendly certification, which is a bit of a departure for both SCS and sustainability certifications in general, and kind of the one thing that really stood out to me very prominently when we first started meeting with Dr. McKeon and his team, is that this certification really is less about the product and more about the person that's using the product and purchasing the product. It's really about the product's contribution to an overall better indoor air quality indoor environment. And I think that is a little bit of a departure from what we're all used to in the building products industry. For the certification, there are roughly sort of 3 big buckets of things that are looked into. There's the VOC testing, and while many of you you're all, FloorScore certified clients, this VOC testing is a little more in depth. It requires both 1 day, a 2-day, and a 14-day test readings. It looks into allergens, and it looks into physical characteristics of the flooring. So that's the sort of the general overview of what what is involved, and we will get into sort of how that plays out in choosing an appropriate flooring. The flooring types that have been certified to date are luxury vinyl tile and plank, sheet vinyl, linoleum, and sports flooring. It's possible that there could be others that could be certified if they can pass. Certainly not carpet, but there could be other subsets of resilient flooring that could pass. Those are just the ones that have been certified thus far. John, anything in the general sense that you would like to add there?
No, I think you've covered it well. As you say, the buckets are a lot of the testing that's already out there in the marketplace, which is like VOC testing, very similar to California high performance schools, healthy product declarations. The difference, as you said, is that our time points are slightly different, and some of our thresholds are a little bit lower. Most of the thresholds of emissions of things like formaldehyde and acetaldehyde are now down to about ambient levels anyway. So everybody's pretty much down as low as they can be. The big difference is the aerobiology testing, as you mentioned there, and it's looking at passive buildup of allergen, which is something quite unique because a lot of other programs look at what the product is like when you buy it initially and how when you install it into the building. But what we've looked at is the kind of dynamics and the care code of the product over time and how it behaves with cleaning. It's all very well to build a sustainable, energy efficient, low emission building, but we really like to follow that over the edge and say, okay, now how will that work? And in our environmental chambers, we have large walk-in climate control chambers. We challenge the surfaces as well as the airborne allergen, allow it to settle in climate control chambers, and look at build-up and cleaning and that cycle process.
Right. I think it's important to note that while the people, the companies and the flooring products represented on this call have become FloorScore certified, that this is a good indicator. But unlike the testing mechanism for FloorScore, where you take a category of products and you look for the worst case scenario, meaning from the formulation, you choose the potential highest emitter. In this case, each flooring product that will be certified must be tested. So that would be a starting point. Those of you that have FloorScore certification, while you may have say a sheet vinyl product or a luxury vinyl plank product that is part of a family of products, in this case you would need to choose which product you would move forward through the certification, and those products would need to be tested to the 1-day, 2-day, and 14-day chamber test. So that's one piece of it. And then we move into the allergen testing that John was just talking about. And I think this is very fascinating because it really gets into the actual physical structure of the flooring. So let's take a plank product where there are joints where one plank abuts the other plank. And what does that joint look like? How deep is it? Is it is it a sharp sort of angular trough that's created between the planks? Is it shallow? Because all of these sort of textures and grooves give places for allergenic material to settle. So one of the key major tests that is a differentiator in this process is a test that John's team performs with a laboratory that takes the flooring material in a chamber and adds a layer of allergenic material on top. And then the flooring product is cleaned according to your manufacturer's instructions. And then it is tested again to see if at least 90% of that allergenic material was removed in the cleaning process. And that is the threshold for passing, right, John?
That's correct. That's correct.
Right.
And again, it kind of goes back to what you said at the beginning is it's about the consumer. A lot of symbols that you see on products are like features of the product. So this floor does this, or this paint product will do this. They're really talking about the product. And that's good. And it's great to have performance criteria or suitability testing done on products. But what we've tried to do is then draw that out and say, well, what's the outcome and the impact on the consumer, or the kid who's at school, or the architect's trying to design a healthy school building? And they said, well, what's happening to the airflow dynamics and the exposure of allergens? Allergens will always, bioburden and allergen will always build up on flooring because people bring it in from outside on their clothing. It's in the natural part of the ventilation process, people themselves, skin cells building up nuisance dust. That's all going to go on. And what we've tried to say is, okay, what are the characteristics of the floor? And yes, we test those. And exactly as you said, Karen, things like the distress finish, the mechanical embossing, the grooves, all that is assessed. But we're assessing it from the point of view is, can you maintain the flooring in a low allergen state? So therefore, if the reservoir of allergen in the floor is at a low level, therefore the exposure pathways and what gets into the air and what people breathe is also a lower level as well. So it's fascinating because it's from the perspective of the person. And then that allows you to tell the whole story of health and wellness. So you're no longer just talking about features and sustainability and those aspects of product lifecycle analysis. You're talking about the in-use phase of the product.
Right.
Because we've stood over the how it performs and what the air is like when you use these type of flooring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that brings me to another point that I wanted to cover, which is, why would we certify flooring? And I think it bears, the obvious is, of course, flooring is a very large surface area within any built environment. and it's a major contributor to indoor air environment. And I think the main point is to identify flooring that does not contain materials that are unnecessarily triggers or harmful to those that are sensitive. And one point that I didn't make before when we were talking about the VOC testing is that if the flooring is to be adhered with an adhesive, then the VOC testing happens with the recommended adhesive. So the adhesives are not certified separately. They're kind of like when you're doing a life cycle assessment, it's sort of the whole assembly. So if the flooring goes with an adhesive, the adhesive needs to be included in the testing. And then I think from a marketing perspective, you have the reason for being, meaning that flooring is a major contributor. Hence the popularity of FloorScore certification, for sure. But flooring does represent a very large surface area and can really affect the indoor air quality. But the thing about asthma and allergy certification, which I know Dhruv is going to touch on quite a bit, is that it can help you differentiate products for a sort of health conscious consumer. And so it allows you to create a product line that can be differentiated within your larger lines and in general command a premium price. So we've talked about the testing, we've talked about the allergy removal testing, and we've talked about some of those factors that affect the removal of allergens from the flooring, meaning the joint shape, the piece size, the surface texture. Those are all things to consider when you start thinking about what kinds of products you might want to propose for asthma and allergy friendly certification. So those were kind of the key sort of overview points that I wanted to cover. And I think now we would love to hear from Dhruv sort of what their experience has been. They do have certified flooring, and I'm going to make him the presenter now. And he has some interesting things to share with us. Dhruv?
Yes, can you hear me,
Karen? Yes, we can.
Yeah, thank you for that introduction, John and Karen, both of you. So I think the emphasis is really on evidence-based outcomes. We all want proof of concept, but then we also want validation of our efforts in sustainability or in anything we do, really. And that's what I'm going to focus a little bit on. By no means is the Tarkett story perfect, but we continue to evolve and work on it. And I'm happy to share where we are today and what we've been able to achieve. So if you look at indoor air quality, as far back as 2000, the year 2000, and I didn't go further than that, the World Health Organization essentially said that it was a basic human right. Now, a lot of us know, that air quality is important, and there's emphasis, especially in the built environment, to have good air quality. But it was a mandated, it's in a document, a couple of decades ago by World Health Organization, which saw the ability, of or inability of good environments on humans that spend a lot of time indoors. So there's a lot of different postulates that are part of that document, but the first one is most important to me, and to our leaders really before me who designed this whole program around low VOC products across the globe, across product portfolios. Was this theory of everyone has a right to breathe healthy indoor air.
Dhruv, were you going to share your screen?
Yes, I was. And I'm sorry about that because I'm talking to the screen looking, but I didn't share my screen. Sorry about that.
I'm glad I thought to ask you.
Thank you.
I'll tell you when we can see it. There we go. Beautiful.
Okay. Thanks.
No worries.
Yeah, so this is, these are the different, postulates by the World Health Organization around human health and the relation to indoor air quality. Trying to minimize this.
It looks good.
Okay. Okay, thanks. Yeah, so, flash forward to today, and this is, in news almost every day. This is a news article from a couple of years back, where basically, the article talks about, how can we create more healthier buildings, which is essentially in the 50s and 60s, the outdoor air pollution, going to our national parks, the scenic vista used to be blocked because of particulates and other matter, organic matter in the air, which reduced visibility. But that has, turned itself around, and now we have the same problem of, the indoor environment within homes and the buildings we live in, which is actually more unhealthy than the outdoor environment. So who thought that that could happen? But that's where we are.
And that's where we spend 90% of our time.
Absolutely, yes. So if you look at home, for example, and this is a study done at the Harvard School of Public Health, almost 30%, so they are trying to come up with these are basically tips, 36 tips to make your home healthy. And you can see that about 30% of the tips are centered around improving the air quality or indoor air quality in a home. From reducing or increasing ventilation rate to using vacuums with HEPA filter, reducing the chemicals in the different products, including flooring. So it's a big issue, as we all know, in the flooring industry. And if somebody on the call is not from the industry, then I'm sure this resonates in your industry as well. But it is a big deal. The indoor air quality issue in homes, and not just in homes, right? We know that in the green building arena, in the commercial building arena, it has been a big issue for quite some time as well. And how do you eliminate that risk to the occupants? This is again another study done by the Harvard School of Public Health, which basically they have come up with simple they call it 9 foundations for a healthy building, and it has air quality as one of the key foundations to improving the health and wellness of people in indoor environment. And they are all interlinked. I mean, they're not independent of one another. So ventilation, the higher exchange rate for airflow within the building is determinant of the indoor air quality. Having less chemicals of concern in the product is a determinant of indoor air quality, so on and so forth. So the scientists at the Harvard School of Public Health also, at that time, this was, I think, 2015 when they came out with this study, they estimated that the optimized indoor environment, if it was available to occupants in the office environment, could boost the productivity of employees, and that was estimated, an opportunity of or productivity savings of $25 billion to $150 billion per year. There's a lot of studies like that. How do you believe that it's actually the productivity value would increase that much of all the people performing their jobs, daily jobs in an indoor environment? So they kept going on and on with more studies that solidified that claim. And essentially, bunch of studies done again by the same group, at Harvard School of Public Health. They did indoor air quality studies in green versus non-green buildings to see the cognitive or how humans perform in indoor environment in office spaces. And there's a bunch of things that they took into account, but in simple terms, how fast does a person recoup after a shock? So, I get a call from a customer that we lost a key project or a key account. How much time does it take for me to recoup, and come back and get back to working? Those were the kinds of outcomes that this team looked at. And what they were able to basically conclude is that, there was 60 to 100% higher cognitive scores or human performance in a green building versus a non-green building. So you can see that, it's actually adding those cents to the dollars that they hypothesized before they did these studies. So there's definitely a monetary value to human performance, right? Economists and our governments incentivize improvements in productivity, so we can grow as an economy, and this is a direct impact coming out of buildings. So I think that's pretty impactful. And a couple of the things that were important here was, again, higher ventilation rates within the buildings, and also just using products that don't have the harmful chemicals that are emitted in the indoor environment. So we looked at health, well-being, the confluence of those, and we also looked at economics, the opportunity that these factors have. What is also important, and I will not go over specifics. I think most of us know that millennials, and now even we are talking about Generation Z, right? Their preferences towards using products that are ethically produced, are not going to cause any harm to them or their families. And a real good proof point that comes to my mind is of my tenure with Owens Corning, where we made fiberglass, and there was the challenge of, is there a sustainable, or what is the most sustainable fiberglass that's out there? And my team actually developed that product that we sold in the market. We validated all our claims around emissions and around the product with the Asthma and Allergy Foundation. The only product that had that capability or that certification, but more importantly, we were able to see that the consumer, when we did pilots at Home Depot, we were able to see that consumer was willing to pay a price premium for that insulation product, even though it goes behind the drywall and you don't touch and feel, insulation on a daily basis. So I think the emphasis there is, the key learning for us was from the consumer insights we had gathered was that, people are willing to pay a little more cents to a dollar if, you take their family's health and well-being into account, and you can connect, the emotional aspects of, consumer behavior to what a product offers as sustainability attributes. So, thankful for that relationship. I've always had a lot of trust in everything that Asthma and Allergy Foundation does, and the rigidity, the reliability that it provides and its program provides. So going forward, there's a lot of proliferation of sustainable brands in today's space. There's shoes, there's apparel, there's all kinds of stuff, that's built for consumption, really. But I think what is most important is, the place that we spend most of our time in. So, I think even though in the green building arena, there's much more emphasis on the health and wellness of occupants in the space, that's not necessarily true for any other types of buildings that are not constructed to a green building standard of some type, right? So I think programs like Asthma Allergy Foundation and the rigorous protocol that they have set and which is validated now by SCS, I think help manufacturers like Tarkett bring products to market that are differentiated, but more importantly, we truly know that they're doing what they're supposed to and not doing what they're not supposed to. So if somebody is not, you don't know what Tarkett does, a lot of time I have to clarify myself that we are not Target with a G, but Tarkett with a K. And we basically, sell a lot of flooring of different types, and except ceramic, we pretty much cover a lot of different segments. But this is around 2009 when our leadership thought of all of these concepts of health and well-being even before they were the buzzword. And the emphasis was, to simply give the best quality of life experience to indoor, to the people who are in the indoor environment. And so I'm just going to focus a little bit on, what and how we created what we call as people-friendly spaces. So essentially, since 2009, we've changed how we design products, how we create new products, how we make existing products better using cradle-to-cradle principles. And we do a lot of things around planet, conserving the natural capital in terms of when we are substituting raw materials or when we are reformulating products, but I'm not going to go into that sphere. Just some results to share. So, the last 10 or 11 years worth of work, some of the key accomplishments have been, we've assessed about 98% of our raw materials globally. So we know exactly, what harm these raw materials cause to humans or the environment. And we've set an optimization strategy where we've, done away with a lot of the harmful chemicals that would have endangered any of the stakeholders in the value chain. We eliminated, as a flooring company in North America, phthalates from our PVC production. And really the goal has been to offer 100% low VOC emitting products to our clients. So if it's a basic human right, we have to have it for everybody, available to everybody, and not just a few products that only a few can afford. So as of today, 97% of our product portfolio, and this is a global number, is low VOC emitting. We certainly have products that are not there yet, but we and our R&D teams continue to work on that aspect. Some of the challenges and opportunities we face. So customer perception and education, specifically with the asthma and allergy certification, there's a lot of emphasis on healthy materials and what's in your product and transparency and carbon footprint. And there's so many different attributes. Recycled content used to be 10 years ago as important. But there is not a lot of emphasis on, the low VOC or the lowest VOC emitting products. There's not much emphasis on what does asthma and allergy certification do. I think we're trying to create, some dialogue with our customers and consumers, but we are not there yet in terms of, being our customers and consumers being able to fully understand and grasp how this impacts their daily lives, whether they're at home or at work. I think the organization has also provided us validation. When we embarked on this journey, we were looking for partners that would be credible, that would be based in science, and that would essentially, push us to do better and really be the best in class. So we are thankful for that opportunity that the foundation has provided us. and the certification program. And really, one of the challenges that remain is also, market validation. So I have a few points I would like to share on that, because ultimately we have to monetize and show value of sustainability or anything we do as a business. So this is just one example of, we did a blog post earlier this year, and this is the kind of consumer engagement we've been able to achieve. And I'll be very honest, these numbers are not in the thousands or hundreds of thousands. These are 500 visitors that we have viewing that blog post on a monthly basis, right? So it's not a big deal, but we are working with the foundation, with SCS, and really our internal teams to hone in on the message, to hone in on how to deliver that message, and really what is the value proposition for the customer. On the right-hand side, this is one of our sheet products that we sell in the marketplace. It's gotten a lot of foot traffic, or not foot traffic, but hit traffic because of the customers clicking on the links. I don't think it's significantly huge, but when we compare it to our other products, and I'll be honest, we are undergoing a rapid change in our digital roadmap. So our websites are changing, and they've been changing for the last 6 months. So the system at Tarkett is not perfect yet, but we are still seeing some traction when we pitch or show the value proposition clearly to the customer and the consumer. And this is most of the times consumer these numbers are for. So with that, I thank you for your time, and give it back to you, Karen.
Dhruv, just for a level set, how many asthma and allergy friendly certified flooring products do you have? Just one?
No, we have multiple. In resilient except rubber, so all of our sheet products, LVTs, are asthma and allergy free certified, are in the process, because we have a few LVTs that are coming up this year that will be launched this year. So except rubber, the vinyl sheet and LVTs are certified, and I think the number is 6 or 7.
Okay. One thing that I'll just add as a sort of empirical point, I am the website person for FloorScore, and I can tell you that I receive probably on the order of 2 calls to 3 calls a week from consumers or specifiers that are looking to make sure. They're calling with, I want to buy this flooring. I want to make sure that it's got FloorScore certification. They're, even though we have all of the certificates listed on our green products guide, a lot of times they're hard to find, and people want to know, is the flooring certified? So I take a lot of calls from concerned customers, and they say things like, my grandchildren are going to be crawling on this floor, or, I want to make sure it's healthy for my family. So there is a lot of interest in, and I have taken some calls from individuals who really had issues with children that had strong chemical sensitivities, or with loved ones who had COPD, or individuals who had gone through chemo for lung cancer, just things like that. So I do think that there is, the ability for, these products to be marketed in a way that focuses around indoor air quality and health. So,
and Karen, Tarkett has a lot of testimonials from customers as well, where
right.
They did not want to, they had lino, for example, is one that comes to mind previously, but then they switched to vinyl, and they didn't want to switch to vinyl because of, the concern with the indoor air quality. But we've had so many testimonials from customers where the condition of their, whether it was spouse or child, has actually gotten better and not worse with that change in the flooring that they have done. So sure, we can quantify that, but we have a lot of stories like that to share as well.
Okay. Well, I think we can take some questions. I think that each of you has the ability to unmute yourself. If not, I can unmute everyone. I'm just concerned that there might be a lot of background noise. So do we have questions? And the three of us would be happy to answer. Maybe someone could try to unmute themselves to see if maybe I do need to unmute everybody.
While you're waiting, Karen, this is John here again. Is it possible to pop the screen to me? I might just flick up one slide just while you're gathering the questions.
Sure. I'll make you the host, and then all you have to do is share your screen.
Okay.
I think you also could, I see a raise hand button. Oh, you know what? Now I'm not the host, John, so you have to unmute everybody.
Okay. Well, let me.
Do you see it there at the bottom?
So the top of my screen, I can.
Hang on. Let me.
Well, do you want to take back control then?
Well, that's what I'm looking at doing here. Where did that go?
Why don't you share, John, what you wanted to talk about on the slide?
Well, first of all, Dhruv, I'd like to say thanks very much. I had some slides prepared myself, but it's so much more powerful, I think, just to hear somebody who's invested in the certification, has worked with us for a number of years doing the research and development, the testing, and now telling us that you're reaping the rewards of that benefits, not only across your digital marketing, your ability to tell a story and engage people around, again, not so much the product, because when we write the blogs, and it's really about the theme of health and wellness. I think people are quite switched on now today, that they feel if you're talking about your product, you're spamming them. But if you talk about something they're interested in, and who's not interested in being a good parent and making a safe and healthy home, and you're part of that story. So when we tell the story of Tarkett, or whether it's a 3M furnace filter or a Dyson vacuum cleaner or an LG washing machine, we talk about what people are interested in, health and wellness, and how to empower consumers to make better homes. And then they ask us, they say, well, are there products that will keep this promise? And then you can begin to introduce, once you've got their trust and their attention, you can engage around story. And they're very receptive to hear about products like a Tarkett product that can do that. So it's fascinating for us to hear how well you've deployed that. I just wanted to pop up a slide, and Karen, maybe you might tell me if it's coming up on the screen here.
Yeah, it's up there. Yep.
Great. Just how we're very pleased to be working with SDS. They are the certification body. We see Allergy Standards as a standards body, and then our network, our tribe, are thought leaders in the area like Tarkett or LG and 3M. But we're very happy there's an ecosystem here. And on this slide, you'll see that some of our clients, like Bono, which is a cleaning product for floor, or you'll see Owens Corning, or indeed Tarkett, where they're using FloorScore to reach an audience and to engage an audience around some messaging in the cradle-to-cradle life cycle. People are particularly switched on environmental sustainability issues, same as Benjamin Moore. And then some extend that brand and that outreach into our certification. And there's a kind of a two-way flow. People may begin their journey with FloorScore and then evolve to us. They may start with us and go back to FloorScore. So we've worked a lot with SCS, and Karen particularly, as you said, she takes a lot of calls from people with regards to FloorScore and health. And what we're saying is there's very much a pathway here. We think it should start with Karen. Karen's your contact. You know Karen. Karen can certainly refer you to us or even some of our experts who are consultants, like the folks at Berkeley Analytical, about prototypes or R&D development to start your journey. And we know many of you need FloorScore for B2B reasons, for architects, for industry, for lead, and all sorts of reasons. And we would very much encourage you to continue with that. It's an excellent program, or the Indoor Advantage program, the SCS. And there's a flow of data back and forth to move then on to the specialist testing and the additional testing around the allergens that would allow you to have our specialist health-based claim, the asthma and allergy friendly certification. And that program is endorsed and recognized by the national patient organizations. And then the pathway may continue back or forwards onto California high performance schools or the collaborative high performance schools. Some of the data you can use for Indoor Advantage will be your lead points around air quality, or Green and Healthy Schools. Again, it's an organization in Baltimore we work with, or indeed the folks at Delos. And I know Stanley and Karen are very familiar with the WELL building standard and the folks at Delos. And I put a blue line there because, again, there's a lot of collaboration between us and WELL of data being able to be repurposed and to flow backwards and forward. So I think Karen's your anchor. SCS is a reputable certification body. This is what they do. They do audit. They will do surveillance of maintenance. And they have a network of consultants, as do we, as I said, like the folks at Berkeley with Raja, to help you navigate that. So you can kind of titrate and get the testing you need on the products you need, and then overlay that marketing and that brand recognition for your particular audiences. As Dhruv said, the Gen Z, the millennials are very much into sustainable products, products that share their own personal values. And I think what we're trying to put together with SCS is a way for you to develop a portfolio that has different offerings for either your retailers or your architects or your building code people, or straight to B2C through websites and blogs that Dhruv spoke about.
Okay, so I'm going to unmute everyone, and each of you has a mute button on your dashboard. So if it's really loud, you can mute yourself. So now, if anyone has a question, feel free to come forward. Anyone? Does anyone have a specific question? All right, well, if there aren't any questions, any specific questions, then I'm happy to conclude for the day. But as you're, thinking about the certification, feel free to email us with questions that come up, and I will be sending out a link to just a short overview, and I will also send a link to the recording when and if I figure out how to harvest it. This has been a little bit of a different meeting, where it's a meeting, not a webinar. So thank you for bearing with us through it and for participating. And I look forward to seeing you. We will be presenting with Tarkett and with Allergy Standards at the Living Product Expo. And we will also be presenting at Green Build in Tarkett's learning area, unless we end up moving through to the People's Choice presentation. So we'll hope that everybody votes for that and that we're in the main educational sessions. But anyway, I look forward to seeing some of you at LPE, and with that, I'll say have a great day.
Thanks, Karen. Thanks for setting up.
Thank you, everyone.